This is Liz.
This is Jade.
And this is Carly. And you're listening to
Babes and Babies. Hello,
See what I
hello.
did there? Hey, ladies.
You doing okay over there, Liz?
You know, I don't know. I just found out there's this thing called wedding brain. And then when you get married, there's like married brain and then pregnancy brain and then just like life brain. But I definitely have married brain right now. So, or
What is
marriage
that?
There's
planning
also
brain.
single brain. That is also crazy.
What
Yeah,
is?
I mean, I'm forgetting things, putting things in weird places. Like I got a spaghetti squash to make and I went to grab it and I was in the kitchen with Vito's mom and I was like, which one's yours? Which one's mine? She goes, both are yours. I said, no, I bought one the other day and I brought it. And I was like, oh, Francie has one too. And she goes, no, I never bought one. You bought that one. Then you went and bought another one. I'm like, no, I didn't. She's like, yeah, you did. I was like, oh, I've been doing things like that a lot lately.
Yeah, just preoccupied. So you don't know. You're like doing things, but not really present because your mind is like everywhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hate when you put something somewhere and you're like, I'm going to put this right here so I definitely remember where I put it. Nope. That was a stupid idea.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to put it in this special spot because it's very specific so I don't forget where it is. And then because it's this weird particular spot, you forget where it is.
It's so dumb. Evan is like the worst. He loses his wallet every single day. I'm telling you guys, every single day. He's like, well, I put it somewhere. And I'm like, you sure did. And every day he comes out, hey, do you know where my wallet is? No, Evan, you just need to have one place where you put it every single time. Well, I had it over here, and then I put some cards in my pants. And then, do you know where those pants are? Because I have some of my cards in there. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like infuriating.
I am definitely like that. So we had to create, I created this myself a few years ago, but I call it the launch pad. And it's like right when I walk in the door, it's where like my purse goes, or like if I usually don't have a wallet outside my purse, but everything goes in this one specific spot in our mudroom, because otherwise I will like take it upstairs when I run up Emmy upstairs, or I leave it in my car or wherever, and then the next thing I don't know where it is at all times. So that infuriates Tanner. That's like a pet peeve of his.
You guys know that I lose my phone all the time.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
No, it's so dumb. Like, I seriously, like, luckily I have my computer that has messages on it because, like, I'll set it down and it'll be on silent because I don't want to wake up Bella, and then it's gone. It's just gone. And, like, the other day I was sitting on the bed, and this is the worst one. I was sitting on the bed and my phone fell off when I was trying to make her nap, and then I looked everywhere for it and I couldn't find it. And it took Evan helping me, like, move a piece of furniture to find it. But I was like, this is so dumb. Like, I heard it drop on the floor. I know it's here. Or it literally vanished because I hate phones.
That is
I don't need a
crazy.
phone in my life. But I just set it down.
That's such a mom thing, though,
and
because
then
you can't carry your baby and your phone, and you'll like you just set it down without thinking about it. And
Right. And you, like, don't want the sound on because you don't know when they're going to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
my phone is always on silent, but that's because I hate extra noise. I hate beeps and alerts, and it's like a sensory thing for me. I hate it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's one of Vito's biggest pet peeves of me too, though. Jade is like, I leave stuff like when I go to leave the house, I'm like, it takes this extra time because I'm looking for my keys, I'm looking for my phone, I'm looking for my purse, and he's like, just every 5 minutes, Liz. Phone, keys, wallet. Phone, keys, wallet. Like, where is it? And then
you and we're one and the same on that.
It's so funny.
Well, and then yesterday we're going to church, and we get out of the car, and like Vito grabs my hand, and he like looks down, and he's like, and I look down, and my wedding ring's not on my finger, or my engagement ring,
Liz.
And I was like, hold on, and I run back to the car. It was just sitting on the seat that I was sitting in. And I was like,
what?
Because I took it off to do my makeup in the car, and then I put it back on, or I didn't put it back on.
Why do you need to take it off to put your makeup on?
I don't know.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't want to get it dirty.
I never take mine off. It literally never comes off my finger.
Me either.
Never.
I need to get it
Liz,
tightened a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
But I was like, ooh, that's
it's not
going to
get dirty. Why would it get dirty?
Yeah. Like
I'm
foundation?
really confused about all of this.
Foundation.
I need to get down to
and foundation. I was putting like tinted moisturizer and stuff on my face and like rubbing
like
it in.
with your fingers.
Yeah.
You need a sponge.
I know. I have one, but it's dirty and I need a new one. So it grosses me out, so I can't use it till I get a new one.
Okay, I get that. I was like really confused. I was like, what is powder gonna like drop on it? Like,
Yeah.
what? I don't get it. That's so funny.
All right. As you guys know, I've been super busy lately, and one thing that I've discovered that I love is Prep Dish. It is a healthy meal planning service. When you sign up, you'll receive an email every week with a done-for-you grocery list and instructions for preparing your meals ahead of time. You'll do your chopping and mixing ahead of time, leaving you with 0 decisions to be made at dinner.
What I love about Prep Dish, too, it does gluten-free, dairy-free, paleo meals. You can eat healthy with it.
You'll save time and have amazingly delicious meals like the smoky paprika chicken legs with a trio of roasted vegetables or the zucchini and turkey lasagna.
That sounds so good. And the founder, Allison, is offering listeners a free 2-week trial to just try it out. You can't beat that. Check out prepdish.com/babies for this amazing deal. Again, that's prepdish.com/babies for your first 2 weeks for free. That is a no-brainer.
Tanner never wears his wedding ring, by the way. People comment on it all the time on Instagram. They're like, where's his ring? And he
Ew, why?
I know. I've gotten over it. He hates wearing jewelry. He says it feels weird on his finger. And I said, you'll just get used to it. But
you don't think about it.
Hates it. Sometimes he wears the Kalo, the rubber rings. But he usually never wears his wedding ring. And I've just gotten over it. I'm just like, whatever. Like someday he'll just wake up with a tattoo around his finger and I'll be like, that's what you get.
That's what you get. Forever. Forever and ever.
Everyone knows you're mine now, forever.
Did you guys see my Instagram story the other day about how dirty my bathroom was?
No,
oh my
I
gosh,
missed it.
yes.
Oh my God, it was so bad. So I like walk into my bathroom and I was having one of those it's been me and Bella here just like the whole week. Evan's been gone the entire week. Actually longer than a week. And so, like I was saying, you put your phone down over here and you go over here. Like your house just gets to be a mess when during the naps, like you either get ready or you're napping too, right? So I like walk into the bathroom and I was like, what the hell happened in here? This is so messy. And then I realized like you did it, right? I mean, every drawer was open. Everything was out. I'd washed my hair, but then after I washed my hair, like all of that stuff was still left out because then it's like, okay, I'm done. Let me go take care of you. There was a baby walker in there. I mean, it was just like the nastiest chaos, dirty thing ever. And I was like, and so I put it on there and my dad was like, I can't believe you showed the world how dirty your house was. I was like, Dad.
It was just messy though, and not like you don't live in filth. It was just
true.
Tons of products everywhere that when you have a kid, sometimes you don't have time to put it all away at that moment.
Right.
But yeah,
and
it was pretty
funny. It was like everything is out. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, no, it's always like the sink is always pretty clean and stuff like that. It's just I just hadn't put anything away. And I walked in and I was like, whoa. And and someone was like lots of people are like, oh my God, I'm OCD. This is driving me crazy. Let me come clean. And lots of people are like, oh my God, you're exactly like me.
Yeah.
Do you funny. And then some people are like,
Carly,
poor
do you
Evan.
have like somebody who comes and helps clean every once in a while?
No.
You don't?
No, and this house is really big and I should. I don't know. Part of me, like, I should, but I'm like, do I want to spend, like, the extra money to have somebody else come clean? Like, I know that I should want to do that, but then, I don't know. Part of me is like, you should be able to do it. And then part of me is like, and everyone else should be helping.
Yeah.
Like if everyone else just put a little bit of freaking effort in, I wouldn't be crazed and I wouldn't have to hire someone.
Does Evan's kids do chores?
They do occasionally when they want money for something. They're like, can we do chores? And I think if I started it would be like me starting it though. If I started a chore thing, then they would definitely do it. Like when I write it down and I'm like, okay, Nathan, you need to take out the garbage. Okay, Ainsley, you need to vacuum. Like they'll do it, no problem. They won't even complain. It's just like I would really have to be like, okay, Carly, you have to do chores this week. Write it all down. But it just, it just builds up and like laundry never ends and things it's just chaos, you guys.
I think the reason why Tanner wants 4 kids is so they can all be his little minions and do all the chores.
Totally. That's what Evan says. He goes, that's why you have kids, to like take the groceries in. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yep.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Vito and I have been on this thing where like I really, really want a dog before we have kids, and he wants to wait till after we have kids. So I think he's coming around, though. We were talking about, he's been asking like, what kind of dog would you want? All these different things. And then we were walking somewhere the other day, and this dog just took the nastiest poop, and the owner's like picking it up, and he's like, you want this to be your life? And I go, yeah, until we have kids, then it's their life. Then it's our children's life.
That's so funny.
The picking up the poop doesn't bother me. I mean, because you have the baggie, and it is kind of gross because it's warm in your hand, but it never bothers. It's never bothered me. It's just whatever.
It's just something that you have to do.
Yeah. I don't know.
I changed a dirty diaper this weekend, and it was probably the first one in like, since I was little. I tried changing one like, I don't know, a few years ago, and I had a gag attack. But no, it's bad. But it was weird because when I was little, I could change them no problem. But my friend Karina was in town, and I babysat her daughter Emiliana. She's 7 months, and she's so sweet. And her and her husband went to a wedding, so Vito and I went downtown and babysat. And shortly after Karina left, I'm like playing with her, and she just looks at me with this big smile, and it's like she just poops. And
oh my gosh,
and it's like loud. She just keeps farting, and I could tell they were just like juicy farts. So I changed the diaper though, and Vito passed out like in the first 10 minutes. He's like, I'm just gonna nap real quick.
Stop.
He was napping, and I was like, man, I gotta change this kid's diaper, and I did it, and it wasn't that bad. I think it's when they start introducing the solids, like once they start eating more food, then it's like disgusting.
It just stinks more.
It wasn't bad.
More.
Like I was proud of myself. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah. Speaking of diapers, so Emerson and I were out of town this weekend, and so last night we came home, and I wanted to take a shower, and I go, Tanner, will you please just change Emerson's diaper? It's just wet, because he hasn't changed a diaper in months, literally months.
Oh my God.
And so he was like, yeah, and I was like, okay, here, change her diaper, put her in her jammies. And this morning when I went into her nursery and I was cleaning up, I noticed this is how long it's been since he's changed a diaper. I noticed he got out an old size 1 diaper and had gotten it out and had tried to put it on her because it was all like crumpled, like it had been tried to be like been attached to her, latched around her. And I was like, she wears a size 4. I'm like, this is how long it's been that Tanner doesn't know where the diapers are, for one, and found an old size 1 and tried to put it on her.
Oh, gosh.
I was like, oh, it's so sad.
And he wants 4 of those.
And he wants 4. And yeah, which means I will be doing
which means he has to step up his diaper changing game.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, we'll see.
Jade's like, it's hopeless.
I don't know. How do you make someone do something they don't want to do? It's like, where do you pick your battles?
I know. So, when Sandy from Greece is like a super regular person, and then all of a sudden she puts on these like sexy pants, and she's the sexiest ever, and she knows it, and she looks super hot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was shopping the other day on Carbon 38, and there is this pair of leggings called Takara leggings, and they are these like high-waisted, sexy black pants. You guys, I got them, and I've never felt sexier in my whole life. They like suck it all in and make me look super sexy, and now I am super sexy Sandy, and Evan can't keep his hands off.
I need to see a picture of you in these Sandy leggings.
Listen, you need to get you some because Tanner he'll just fall over.
So I went on the Carbon 38 and I ordered a couple pairs, and I got these Stella McCartney ones in, and I put them on the other day, and it's a brand with Adidas, and Vito was like, are these Adidas pants? He has this weird obsession with Adidas stuff. He's like, you need to get you some more of these. He loves them. And they were super comfortable, and putting them on made me feel like I needed to go work out. It was great. But they have tons of different designers on there, tons of activewear. And it's basically high fashioned, inspired, exclusive only activewear. And the best thing is there's free returns. So if you get a size and maybe it doesn't fit you right, you can return it.
Yeah. If you guys want to look sexy too, but feel really comfortable, athleisure wear is where it's at. Go to carbon38.com. They offer new arrivals from top brands every day. And right now, our listeners can receive 20% off your order by going to carbon38.com and using our code BABES. That's carbon38.com, promo code babes, for 20% off your purchase.
I've been alone this week because Evan took the boys last weekend to the beach and then went on a work trip and then went to Las Vegas for iHeart. So, I'm confused on why he scheduled them all like that, but he did. So he, got a break all week while, and I say that this lifestyle is just different for me. Lots of people, their husbands are gone. They, my husband's always around. So it was like almost like kind of a shock for me. And he's been home, like he was home one night and then left super early in the morning. So Evan loves going to music festivals. That's like his thing. He loves them. I've been, I've known him for over 2 years now. I've always let him go. That's like his thing. And then part of me is like, you're 35. Like, when are you going to be too old to go to music festivals and hang out with the 21-year-olds with no clothes on? You know what I mean? But whatever. If he needs that, I've been letting him go. So here's my struggle. One, how much attention should you be getting on the other end? Like, should you just let your guy go and be like, you don't have to text me, do whatever you want? Or do you say like, okay, you need to check in with me every 5 hours? Or, hey, like, at least tell me when you're going to sleep. Or, hey, let it just be a normal day. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's such a fine line. And I was trying to like put myself in, because we're all going on a girls trip, and I was trying to put myself in his shoes and be like, if I go on a girls trip, like, how would I do it? Like, I'd probably still be like, hey, how's Bella doing? Hey, do you need anything? But I'm also a woman. So I just got super mad because, one day he's very drunk and texting me all these like inappropriate, like, your body is so beautiful things. Oh. And then
I think that sounds very appropriate.
No, it was just really weird. No, because, he doesn't do that. So I was like, this isn't even real. You know what I mean? Like, this is just like alcohol induced.
Maybe he was missing you.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't know. So then like the next day, nothing. Just nothing. And then I find out he goes to private room karaoke, which is our thing. Uh-oh. Like, out of everything you could freaking go do in Vegas, there's everything to do. There's literally everything. Why would you take all of your friends to private room karaoke without me and then not even tell me you were going? I just found out through someone else's Instagram story. I kind of sound like a stalker, but I wasn't even trying to stalk. I was just like, you know what? First off, you don't talk to me all day and you go do my thing. Like, how dare you?
Oh, snap.
And then he sends me a Uber follow at like 3:00 in the morning. Follow Evan's Uber. You know what? I don't want to follow Evan's Uber. I'm here with his baby trying to make her still be asleep. So anyway, it was like this struggle. And it's like, you want your guy to go do things, but then...
Right, you don't want to be up his butt because you want him to have his freedom. Totally. But you also want him to be like checking in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's hard.
He did one day, and then the next day... like, just really didn't. And I was like, I sent you a picture of Bella and you never responded. That is soups rude.
Yeah.
At least say, I miss her. I feel like
so that's kind of how Tanner and I communicate. If like one of us is out of town doing something, we kind of just send pictures back and forth, and throughout the day, we don't really call or talk, but it's just kind of checking in a way, being like, oh, this is what I'm doing right now, and then we always talk at night. We always like FaceTime at night. That's kind of our check-in.
What was weird was like, so that one day he talked to me a lot, and then the next morning he talked to me and FaceTimed me, but then it was like he literally fell off the face of the earth. And then the next day I'm waiting. He's told me he's going to be home at 2:00. It's 4:00. I'm sitting in my house. I'm like, what is actually going on? Because it's 2:00 and you said you'd be here. And he says, oh, I'm sorry. My flight left at 2:00. Oh, no. You should have told me. Like, what?
Yeah.
This isn't like a free pass to just do whatever you want. You still have to check in. So that's our biggest thing right now. We're not communicating very well, guys.
It's so hard, though, because you do kind of want them to just need their guy time or their me time. So, like, maybe he just wants, like, the silence and doesn't want to feel like he has to have, like, you don't want to be their mom and be like, where are you? Like, they don't want a mom. So it's like...
And I don't want to do that either.
Yeah, you don't want to have to feel like you're,
I would just like the
Nagging or-
hey, I'm at private room karaoke. I'm sorry I did this to you. That would be nice. Or, hey, I'm heading home. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. And then also, hey, just realized my flight leaves at 2, not gets in at 2. Don't wait around for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, there's just certain things I'm like, as a husband, you have to check in.
But did you tell him those things?
I've told him these things for 2 years every time he goes to these music festivals.
Oh, men.
I know.
Husbands.
Men. I know.
But I think it is good, though. I mean, that, like how you say, like, you know, he loves this. I let him do it. Not that he necessarily, like, needs your permission, but you know that that's
Right.
something, like, that he enjoys, and you want him to be able to enjoy that, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, just even the fact, though, that you guys let each other go do those things without each other is nice. Because I know so many people have told me, they're like, it's so important when you get married to still have your life and your friends.
Totally.
And you are together, like, as one, obviously, but but not having to be together 24/7 all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do have friends who, like, if there's one person, the other person's there always. I've never seen, like, the one without the
Yeah.
other, you know?
I can't be like that. I'd get, like, claustrophobic.
I feel like I'm in the middle. I feel like I could be like that. I could not be like that. I don't know.
Guess you'll find out.
Yeah.
I guess we always do this, you guys, but we didn't announce our guest.
Oh, we always do this.
We're going to start doing a few more birth stories for Babes and Babies podcast. And so we have Nicole Black on today, who is actually from our Facebook group, and she's sharing her pretty exhilarating birth story with us.
I
So-
cannot wait
Yes.
to hear this. Oh, my gosh.
I love birth stories.
You do. You always have.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I just love it because every birth story is so individual, you know.
Uh-huh.
There are ones that will have like similarities. Like I had a lot of women reach out to me when I shared mine. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I felt like I was reading my own story," but yet they're still very different and unique. And it's kind of like a fingerprint. They're just everyone's special, even if you have had like 6 children. You know, each one's so so different. But should
All
we
right,
get?
let's get her on.
All right.
Hi,
Okay.
Nicole.
Yeah.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Oh, we can hear you really good. Good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That sounds great.
Good. I have my earphones in, and I've got the baby next to me. So if she makes noise,
Oh no, it's
Oh,
okay.
my-
Hi,
Oh, my
baby.
gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my goodness. So cute.
Oh my god.
Oh,
How old?
she's 3 weeks.
Oh my
she's
god.
3
So cute.
weeks.
Oh, my
How
goodness.
do you look this good at 3 weeks? Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. But she gave me a 4.5 hour stretch last night, and that's like gold.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
My first stretch was 4.5 hours, so I woke up feeling like I could rule the world. I was like, okay, let's do everything, all the things today.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
my gosh. Oh, she's so cute.
Thank you.
Well, Nicole, we're so excited to have you on today and to hear your story. But first, how many kids do you have?
So she's my third.
Your third.
My
Okay.
third. Yeah.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? Because I remember you saying that you're a doula yourself, right?
Yeah. So I live in Tampa with my husband and my 3 kids. My husband and I met here in Tampa about 10 years ago. And we lived in Chicago for a few years. I had my second child there. And then we moved back to Florida about a little over a year ago, and I got pregnant with this one. So after my second birth, I just got really into the birth world because my first was a C-section.
Okay.
So he was a planned C-section, probably unnecessary in Florida, where the C-section rates are really high, relative to the rest of the country. And then when I was in Chicago and I got pregnant with my second, my OB at the time was like, "Oh, well, you're a candidate for a VBAC." And I had no idea what that even meant.
Yeah.
So I just dove in and started exploring it and ultimately decided based on the evidence that I felt like I was comfortable giving it a shot. So I did VBAC with my daughter, with my second, and it was such a powerful transformative experience for me for a lot of reasons. During my second pregnancy, I lost my little brother. He was 21. And at the same time, I was like preparing for this VBAC, which is just super emotional. And when it happened, it just felt like there was no way I could go back to my old. I mean, I came from corporate real estate finance background. And so I was doing commercial real estate and, fund management for these big real estate funds. And I'm like, I just can't go back to that. Not after this. So, and she was 9 pounds, 4 ounces. And wow. I pushed her out. Yeah. My first was 8:15 and they told me that I needed a C-section because they thought he was big. Oh. So I didn't know any better at the time. So with her, I pushed her out and I didn't tear. And I was fine. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I just need to like shout this from the rooftops right now. And I hired a doula with her and it was such an incredible experience that I just started to kind of explore that world. And very soon after I left my job and slowly kind of made this transition, meanwhile, moved back to Florida. And I got into, the doula work. I do most of everything right now virtually. So I'm a childbirth educator, I'm a doula, I'm a pregnancy coach, but I work mostly virtually right now because my kids are so young.
Yeah.
So physically being present at, a long birth is kind of hard for me right now.
Mm.
So yeah. And I host a private group of moms that I go live like once a week and do digital doula Q&As. And I kind of just talk about stuff and answer questions. And it's really cool. And I think the moms really like it. And I have a library of free classes on my website. I think my favorite one is like how to prevent vaginal tearing, because now I've had 2 relatively large babies that came out and I didn't tear.
That's
so
amazing.
I'm like, huge about that.
Yeah.
So
Jade and I were literally just talking earlier about tearing and how a lot of women, they don't know with episiotomies, well, they're not really necessary anymore. And a lot of times when you get the one, it makes you tear even more instead of letting yourself like do it naturally, Yeah. So, and Jade, what were you saying about the stitching? It was super interesting.
Oh, well, no, I was reading on Instagram, some birth account I follow, they were talking about the husband stitch, which was like back, I don't know, like 1960s, 1970s. It got really popular to do what's called a husband stitch, where the doctor wouldn't even tell you, but they would stitch you an extra stitch just because they were like worried about the man's sexual pleasure. And they thought that a woman's body needed to be tightened up after birth, when really our bodies are capable of naturally healing. And even women who tear, you don't always need that stitch. And you should just know that you should ask your doctor what they're doing. Or that your doctor should ask you if you want the stitch, because a lot of the times your body will naturally heal on its own. And I got a stitch and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that I had the option to not want it and that I could have probably healed on my own, because I kind of feel like there's something different down there because of the stitch.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of women say too that it can be really painful for you later to enjoy intercourse.
Yeah, it's kind of horrifying to me that, I don't know. So as a mama, I want to do what's best for Emmy, obviously, and no exceptions. This means for me being conscious of the ingredients used in the products I'm buying for her. And from one mom to another, this stuff really matters. That's why I've started ordering from the Honest Company.
And as a doula, it's a company that I love supporting and telling my clients about. Because it gives parents safe options for baby products. And they just launched their brand new super absorbent diapers. They offer advanced leak protection, holding 17 times their weight. Another thing that I love about them is that they make them without harsh chemicals or additives. They're hypoallergenic and eco-friendly, featuring a bio-based core made from sustainably harvested fluff pulp and other plant-derived materials. And they're cute.
They're so cute. One of my favorite things about Honest is their bundle option. Their diapers and wipes bundle offers like the best deal on a monthly supply of their diapers and wipes. You save almost $17 each shipment, which is insane. The bundle gets delivered to you on a schedule you customize and control. And if you aren't 100% satisfied, they will work with you to create a solution. And this is an exclusive listener-only deal of $25 off your first month diapers and wipes shipment. Visit www.honest.com/babies and insert promo code HONEST at checkout. Certain restrictions apply. See website for details.
Anyways, we're here to talk about your birth story because you had quite the exhilarating birth with your third child. So you had her at home, right? Accidentally.
Yeah, it was an accident. I did not plan it. I kind of was manifesting during the pregnancy. I kept kind of joking about having a fast birth. I'm like, I just want it to be fast. And this is my first time that I planned to go natural. So in my birth plan, with my VBAC, it was in a hospital and I had epidural. With this one, I was like, okay, this time I'm finally reaching that point. I'm ready to go natural. I'm there. So, and I kind of would joke and talk a lot about having a fast birth and what I could do to shorten my labor. Well, like I may have overdone it a little bit. So, I did a lot of squatting and I did too many squats or something. And lucky for me, like everything I was doing during the pregnancy to help the moms that I work with, like ended up paying off so much for me because I used it. So I had my birth plan and my plan was to use hypnobabies. And I had a doula. And I was going to go to there's a local hospital here. And so that was kind of my plan. And there was a lot of other things in it too. I'm a huge fan of birth plans, but I also know that things can come up, So having the flexibility and just knowing your options to me is huge. So I wanted everybody to know what I wanted, no matter what the situation was. And so, no matter what came up, I didn't expect all of this to come up though. So I tend to cook my babies longer than like anybody on the planet, I think. So I was 41 weeks with my third, and I was in a lot of pain the last like 3 weeks of my pregnancy. I was like walking horizontally pretty much because she was laying on nerves. And I was in a lot of pain. And my other two kids are toddlers. They're 4 and 2. And they're like, come on, Mom, let's go do this. Let's go do that. And I was like, I have no energy. So, and I'm in so much pain. So that morning, 3 weeks ago, we went to my doctor's appointment, my 41-week appointment. And I was actually seeing a group of midwives, but there's a couple doctors in the practice. So if you need a cesarean on the day of your birth, they are there to do something like that. So I saw the doctor for the first time and she came in and said, hi, Nicole, how are you? So you're 41 weeks today and you are 35 years of age. So at this point, that we do recommend being induced, walk across the street and start your induction. And I'm like, I understand that, thank you for that offer. I'm going to pass. I do want to check on her fluids and make sure she's okay. So we did an ultrasound and she was perfectly fine, moving plenty, had lots of fluid. And I'm like, I'm not really intimidated by being 35. I'm not really intimidated by being 41 weeks. So all of the other things really weren't coming into play for me. And I kind of politely turned it down. And when they did the ultrasound, they did a measurement and she's like, wow, she's looking really big. And I'm like, don't tell me the weight. I don't even want to know. Because the numbers have started to really screw with me. I think that there's some numbers that are really important, but some of those numbers weren't going to help me. It was just going to mess with my head. So I'm like, I really don't want, I'd rather not know, but thank you. And they were all kind of taken aback. And I think they were a little annoyed by me because I think a lot of women kind of want to be like the perfect patient and, kind of go with the flow. Yeah. And I wasn't trying to be a pain in the butt. I just, I really didn't feel like any of those things would help me. So we left their office and it was a Friday before Labor Day weekend. And my husband and I are in the car on the way home. And I saw lots of traffic heading back towards that direction. And I thought, oh gosh, if something goes down today, like that traffic is crazy, heading towards the hospital. So we got home and like 15 minutes later, my water broke. And maybe 15. It was like an hour after I got back from my doctor's appointment. And she did offer to like sweep my membranes. She offered to do all the cervical checks and I turned all of that down. So I didn't want to know if I was dilated. I didn't want to know anything because it really wasn't going to help. So for me, it felt like a mental game at that point. So we got home, my water broke. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. I called the doula and let her know. And typically with my other two, my water broke with both. And within about a half an hour, my contractions started. So I told her, like, you might want to kind of head over here. I know it's going to happen quickly. My contractions will start. And sure enough, within about 30 minutes, they started. And they were really intense. And I had my husband break out the timing contraction app. And he didn't study hypnobabies. He had he's really great at a lot of things. But birth is, he's just not all that, he's like, you're doing, he kind of lets me do my thing. Like he's supportive, he loves it and all that, and he loves the kids, but he's just like, yeah, you know what you're doing. So he actually brought out his iPad and sat on the bed and started watching Ozark. And
I love that show.
Chicken wings. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I need you to doula me. This was the plan. Because I'm a doula, and I told him ahead of time, like, look, until she gets here, there's things I'm going to need you to do. Make sure I'm hydrated. Make sure I'm getting up to pee every hour. Like, there's things I need you to do. Mm-hmm. So he's sitting here eating chicken wings. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm having contractions. Like, get up and come doula me. So I'm like, go get me a hair tie. So he leaves and comes back with a clip, and I'm like, it smells like chicken wings. So I think I threw it, and I'm like, go wash your hands and get me another one. So he's like, okay, I guess this is real. So he's timing them, and they're like 2 minutes apart.
Wow.
So I was bouncing on my yoga ball, like my birth ball, and like leaning over stacked pillows on the bed, just kind of rocking. And I lost track of time, but I knew the contractions I knew they were consistent and they were close.
Yeah.
They weren't terribly intense at first. I felt pretty comfortable. Like I was able to maneuver through them. And then I had to go to the bathroom. And, you know, when you go to the bathroom, it's like, surely your labor is progressing. So I go to the bathroom, and I'm trying to have a little bit of decency. Like I shut the door, and I have my husband sitting outside with the contraction timer, and I'm yelling for him. I'm like, bring me water, bring me this, and bring me my massage tool, and try this and try that. And I went to the bathroom, and then I thought, okay, sitting on the toilet in that upright position, like I could feel gravity working, and I could feel things really pick up.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I'm like, okay, I need to get in the tub. So in between contractions, I ran myself some water and got in the tub because it helped me with my last birth. I thought this will be great. I'll ride it out in the tub until my doula gets here. And I got in the tub, and it like magnified the intensity this time.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, whew. So I'm trying to like breathe through the contractions. I'm in the tub, like rocking. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really picking up. Like really, I could feel it, you know? And I'm like, I got to get back on the toilet. I have to go to the bathroom again. So, you know, I'm obviously naked. So at this point, I'm like wandering around naked, like in between contractions, getting back on the toilet. And my husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom again, which I know these are all good signs for labor, but I didn't want to freak him out. And meanwhile, he's like, maybe you should get dressed. Maybe we should just go. And I heard him on the phone, like trying to call the midwives. And he's like, I can't reach the midwives. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I mean, if we get there, they'll be there, you know, it's a hospital. So I kept seeing him come around the corner with pants, like put these on, you know, like trying to dress me. And I'm like, it's not happening. Like, get the pants out of here. Like I had to yell at him a couple times and probably use some crazy language, but I'm like, get the pants out of here. I'm not putting them on until she gets here, until the doula gets here. I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to manage these contractions. He's like, no, we need to go. We need to go. And I'm like, how far is she? And he's like, well, she's 40 minutes away. And I think I cried for a second. I was like, oh my God. Because I knew my instinct told me like, I can't wait 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And, I was a little emotional. I'm like, okay, we're going to work through this. I'm just going to tell him, like, teach him how to doula me through this. So he does continue to keep showing up with shirts and clothes and pants. And I'm like, stop with the freaking clothes. And I think at one point when I was on the toilet, I like grabbed his arm and like firmly pulled him down. And I'm like, sit here and stay with me and hold my hand and talk to me. And he could see like how intense I got. And again, I was in that upright position and the gravity was pulling her down like so fast. I could feel her descending. And I was like, oh God, I think I'm in transition. Like that's how much louder my voice got. And he was like, I put my hand down and kind of felt, and I felt her head. And I was like,
oh my gosh,
you know, and I'm like, oh crap. And, you know, he was trying to see, but I didn't want to scare him.
Right.
I knew if he saw her head, I'm like, my husband is cool as a fan. He's always like that. But I mean, how cool could he really be if he thinks he's about to deliver a baby unassisted? Like, it's just me and him here.
Yeah.
So he's like, Nicole, sit back so I can see. I can't see when you're leaned over the toilet. I was like leaning forward a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to. And I was shaking my head no. And he's like, you need to sit back because if something's happening, I need to see, you're going to drop her in the toilet. And I'm like, okay, now he knows, obviously. So I kind of leaned back and he could see her head. I'm like, just help me get to the bedroom because I wanted to birth laying down, like side lying, because that's one of the better positions for reducing your chances of tearing.
Interesting.
So I didn't want to do it on the toilet. Plus it felt very intense on the toilet. So I'm like, just help me get to the bedroom. So he helped me get up and walked me in here. And my yoga mat was laying out because I had been doing a million pelvic tilts, for the last however many weeks. So I'm like, just get me on the mat. So he laid me sideways on the mat, and I'm like, I need pillows, prop my head up. I want to be propped up. So he grabs a bunch of pillows, props me up, and he's trying to adjust my leg to hold my leg because the baby's head is like right there. And I'm sounding really calm talking about it, but in the moment I was not that calm. Like I was loud, and, contractions were really consistent and very intense. And I'm like, too high, because he's holding my leg up. And I'm like, too low, squish it ahead. And I was like, just go get my peanut ball. And he's like, you're what? Like the peanut yoga ball?
Yeah.
I'm like, go get my peanut ball. So I told him where it was, and it was the perfect height, of course. So it was perfect. I'm like, that's what I needed. So I'm propped up comfortably as you can be in transition with no drugs.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So, and I kind of had a couple moments where I thought, oh my God, like I worried a little bit, because when you're VBACing, the biggest risk that people worry about is uterine rupture. So I started to have some moments like, oh gosh, like we're not even monitoring our heart rate. Like, what if I have uterine rupture and it's just us here,
Yeah.
I was kind of panicking about that for a second. And then I thought, okay, at this point, there's nothing I can do if I keep worrying about that. Like, that's not going to help me. And worrying about being alone, like all that isn't going to help what's happening. Like this is happening regardless. So kind of put your big girl panties on and do this, like, can keep guiding him. So I'm kind of trying to guide him and keep myself calm. And I have this uncontrollable urge to push. And this was the first time I ever felt that with all my births. And I just couldn't stop. It went every contraction I could feel. I just like this urge. And her head was doing the turtle thing, like going out and coming back in. Mm-hmm. And so I felt that, ring of fire. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel very good. It's not great, but I also knew that I was that close. And after her head was kind of coming out, I felt this really calm touch on my back. And I'm like, what is that? That's not my husband. He's not very like lovey, nurturing man, he's this big, tough, So I'm like, what is this calm feeling? And my doula showed up. So she got there when I was pushing her head out, and I felt her kind of calmly touch me and talk to me. And she's like, breathe, and reminded me to breathe, which is really nice in the moment. And I pushed her head out, and then maybe a few seconds later, all these EMTs came running into my room. My husband our nanny was here with my 2-year-old, who was watching Sing in the other room and didn't hear Sing.
Oh my gosh. What?
I was so loud. I have no idea how she didn't hear me. So our nanny had called 911 and the ambulance was on their way. I had no idea. So these EMTs, like 6 of them, rushed in my bedroom, and I'm laying on the floor, butt naked, everything is out. And none of them were bad looking, it was like maybe 5 men and like 1 woman. I'm like, great.
I love that you remember that.
Welcome to my birth.
Yeah. I'm like, hi, how you guys doing? Like, I was so primal, and I was in such a like hardcore, primal mode. And they all walked in and like rushed in, and I was like, okay. And I felt one of them, they all looked really shocked. And I'm like, okay, I don't think they've done this a lot. And I felt one of them like touch down there, and I yelled, I'm like, get your hand out of my vagina.
Yeah.
I knew what he was trying to do. Like he was trying to help twist and pull her out. And I'm like, in my head, I knew if my baby has done this much so far, like she knows what to do. And if I've done this much so far, like my body is knowing what to do. Like and he is trained for emergencies probably and doesn't know that much about birth. So probably wanted to feel useful and was trying to help. But he's like, okay. And like puts his hands up and backs off. And I'm like, I got this, just leave her alone. He's like, okay. And so they told me, Nicole, you really need to push her body out with this next push. And I think I yelled something really intense, like, dear God, help me, or something like really loud and intense, and maybe a couple of curse words. Cause I was just thinking, oh my God, it was so hard to get her head out. Like, I can't imagine pushing the shoulders out is what I was kind of thinking. But I knew I would feel so relieved when it was over. So I did. And I breathed through, like my doula was there telling me, just breathe like you're blowing out candles on a birthday cake. And I'm like, that's helpful imagery right now. I needed that. So I did. And I breathed her out, and she came out on the next push. And again, the EMT like rushed over with scissors or a scalpel or something. And I'm like, don't touch the cord, and he's like, okay. And I'm like, leave it alone till it's done pulsing. So it's funny because I knew my birth plan and what I wanted so well that even though it didn't go to plan, I was able to like speak up and, advocate for what I wanted, given the circumstances. And so he's like, okay. And so I was actually kind of relieved they were here because I knew I did want to end up going into the hospital. I just didn't want to sit in traffic. And so they got me there pretty quick, because they put the siren on. I'm like, it's a little dramatic, but I'll get there quick. So I delivered the placenta in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. I pushed it out, and it was my biggest placenta yet. And I have very big placentas too. I have big babies, big placentas, the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, that thing, it came out and it was a lot denser than my other ones. Like my other one was like flat and more pancakey. So I think it kind of fell out easier. This one just was like more dense. Huh. And so it was intense to push out. And I did start to feel kind of shaky and turn a little green in the ambulance. And then later I realized I was hemorrhaging a bit. Not terrible, I guess, but when I got to the hospital, my midwife was there and she's like, you are definitely hemorrhaging and I need to go in and make sure, see where the hemorrhage is coming from and make sure you don't have any internal tearing. And I'm like, oh God, after all that, to have internal tearing or to need surgery to get, the hemorrhage under control, I was kind of panicking, but my doula stayed with me and I asked my husband to go stay with the baby because they were doing all the weights and weight with her. And I'm like, just go stay with her and do skin to skin because I couldn't do it while they were doing that. It was very intense. And I did get a shot of, a kind of pain management. It wasn't epidural. It was like in my thigh, and it was not really a pain. It doesn't numb you like an epidural would. It just kind of takes the edge off. She's like, it's going to be pretty uncomfortable. And it was very uncomfortable. I was like flying out of the bed, trying to anyway. And I felt these like balls of clots just like fall out of me like a ton. And I was just really shaky for the next maybe 24 hours, but they got it under control and I was fine. The baby was fine. And she was 8 pounds, 15 ounces. She was another healthy girl. And absolutely no tearing, like none.
Wow.
I know it was weird because that night, and my whole labor start to finish was under 3 hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it was so intense. And I just kept telling my husband, I'm like, holy crap, like that just happened. Mm-hmm. And after she came out, I was like, let me just tell you that my nipples right now hurt more than my vagina. Like, my vagina feels fine. Like it felt.
Wow.
But, breastfeeding, that I have a lot of breastfeeding issues. And so like the nursing pain is real for me. So he's like, wow, really? Like I just watched basically your insides come out of your body and your vagina feels fine. I'm like, yeah, it does. It was so weird. So it was an intense afternoon.
My gosh, you're Wonder Woman.
That's how I felt. I was kind of joking about it. I'm like, I feel amazing. I mean, aside from the blood loss stuff, I felt so good.
Yeah.
I mean,
empowering.
Huh?
So empowering,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. And it was especially powerful for me because with my first birth, I was so afraid of birth and, I didn't know anything at the time. And my doctor, the way she talked to me and kind of told me that my baby was too big to come out, that I couldn't vaginally birth him. I just always felt like birth was the scariest thing ever. And so it's for me to come to this point and have that kind of journey was like huge. I don't know that I want to do it again and again and again or anything, but it was incredible. It really, really was. And I'm like, well, I couldn't have even had the drugs if I wanted to because there was no time,
Wow.
And all that time, my husband's like, get your pants on. I'm like, aren't you glad I didn't listen to you? Because I would have been giving birth in your Escalade.
Yep, in the car. Yep, for sure.
On the side of the road. And it would have really just been you and me.
Yeah, totally.
So it was, it was crazy, but it was also just really, really amazing and really empowering. Yeah, definitely.
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
Did you at any point, like when you were at home and you could like feel her head? Were you afraid at all? Like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening here. Like I'm not going to make it. Is with that? Because for me, like I mean, your adrenaline just had to been up like crazy.
Yeah. I think, yes, I did. And I think because of how much, like I had put these classes together, this is the irony. Like I had put all these classes together, like during my pregnancy and ran them virtually, like coping with contractions. And I put them all on my website, and it turned out like I used so much of those things. And then how to prepare for labor, like mind and body was one that I did. And it had a lot of the mental stuff. So like I was tapping into that stuff. I'm like, how funny that I'm actually using like all of this stuff right now.
That's amazing.
I was kind of panicking for a minute. I felt her head and I was thinking like, oh crap, this is going to happen, you know? And I had a moment where I was like worried, you know, and I'm like, my husband's going to freak, you know, when he sees her head. And I'm a little nervous too. I'm not prepared for this. Our doula's not even here yet. But I think the hormone rush, you know, the endorphins. So you have the oxytocin, right? But then you also have endorphins. And I think the endorphins were kicking in so strong in the moment because I didn't have any pain management drugs. So I could feel all of that. And I was like, I think it kind of, if I was not getting those endorphins, I would have probably panicked more. But because I was getting them, I think I was like in La La Land. I was in like labor land, they call it.
Yes. It really is labor. It really is. That's such a thing.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't for those hormones, I would have freaked out a little bit more. And I can't believe how calm my husband was.
Yeah. That's so nice though, that he was there for you for that. Even though you said he's not the best with birth, it sounds like he was still a rock star in his own way.
Yeah,
at least he was like listening when you were like, sit down, hold my hand, talk to me. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. You know, sometimes guys just need you to be like, do this right now. And then they'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, cause later I'm like, what were you thinking? Just sitting down, eating chicken wings, watching Ozark. Like I told you how quickly my labors always progress. And I told you what I needed to do. Like, what were you thinking? He's like, yeah, but you told me to be calm when you went into labor. And that's calming to me.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad he was calming for you.
Yeah. I was like, well, I'm glad you were calm. Cause he was pretty calm, but you know, his hands smelled like wings. So I'm like, go wash your hands. Cause I could smell it. You know, you still have pregnant. You're still pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, just get those, you know, but he was like cool as a fan, which he usually is. He doesn't get disturbed either way. Like he's pretty chill. But I've got to imagine like even my doula who got here, she's like, listen, you know, I'm not an unassisted birth doula. Like that's not my thing. You know, I don't think she was expecting that either. Cause I wasn't texting her back from when I first texted her and said, hey, head over. I stopped texting because I was in my own world. Like it picked up that quickly for me, and mine were 2 minutes apart the whole time. There was no early labor. Like it just jumped right there. And wild. She, you know, she was like, holy crap. And so by the time she got here and walked in, she saw the head. She's like, wow, you know, okay. You know, but she's like, I'm not an unassisted doula. I'm like, I know. And I didn't play. And then everybody at the hospital, when we came in, I had a birth photographer, and she was at the hospital waiting for me. She didn't come to the house. So she was there and got a lot of photos of us arriving to the hospital. But a lot of the workers there were like, so did you plan this? And I'm like, no, because the thing about a lot of VBAC moms, depending on where you are in the country, there's a lot of places that don't support VBAC all that much. And so if they feel like they're being forced into something like a repeat cesarean, they just won't show up to their appointments, and they unassisted accidentally birth at home, you know, but they kind of plan that. And so I think that's what they may have thought I was doing. I'm like, no, I swear I wanted to be here. Trust me. Like I like this hospital, and they're very VBAC friendly, lucky for me, but I know that there's places in the country that women do that like on purpose, but they say it's an accident.
Interesting.
So I was like, no. I'm like, I wanted to be here, you know? And then my doctor came in the next morning, and she's like, what? I just saw you like right before you did that. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was funny because she's like, you turned down the induction. You didn't want to know if you were, I knew I was dilated. I didn't need her to check because I could feel the cervical, like that lightning feeling, the twinges. I'm like, I knew I was dilated. I didn't want to know. It was like a mental, I call it like, I don't want to curse, but a mental F, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, it's a mental F for me. Like, I just can't know. And then I asked my husband, I'm like, what was the estimate when they did the ultrasound? What were they guessing her weight was? Because he found out, but I didn't want to know. And he's like 9 pounds, 14 ounces. So whole pound off.
Oh my gosh.
So much weight off. That's
you know
crazy.
what I mean? And I'm like, if I would have been laboring at home and thought I was pushing out a 10-pounder, I would have panicked. Like that
totally.
1 pound in my head makes a big difference.
It does.
You know?
Yeah.
8:15, I'm like, okay, you know, if I don't know, I just don't know. But if they would have told me 9:14, I would have freaked. So
Totally.
Oh my gosh.
I was glad that I didn't find out.
So since I stopped breastfeeding, my boobs are like obviously a completely different size and different shape than they ever have been. But I went on thirdlove.com the other day, and they have a quiz that measures the size of your boobs, the shape of your boobs, and then like the perfect bra for you. And I got it in the mail, and it's literally perfect. Like, never has a bra fit my boobies so well. Is that not insane? I didn't even have to go into a store.
That's so nice. And you know what? Our boobs deserve it, right?
Yes.
Our boobs do so much. They help feed your children. I mean, come on. What I love about Third Love, though, is you guys, they have over 70 sizes, which is amazing because I feel like the hardest thing for bra shopping is finding your perfect size, and they have that for you. And like you said, you take that quiz. I have 2 of their bras, and mine are so comfortable, and the quality is like the stitching is amazing. Like these things will last through so many washes.
Oh, completely.
And Third Love knows that there's a perfect bra for everyone. So right now they're offering our listeners 15% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/babes now to find out your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/babes for 15% off today.
This is amazing.
She's
go
ahead.
Gosh, women are just like so powerful. And like, I mean, I can't imagine going through that because then afterwards you're like, I am so powerful. My body just did that, and I knew it could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you knew you didn't need anybody else, that you and your daughter would be able to handle it. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was intense. It was.
So cool.
I feel like I'm still processing. I went live in my group like a week after because the moms in my group were like, could you please tell us what happened?
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, sorry. I'm just coming out of like this. It's such a shock to me. So, I feel like I'm still kind of processing, like trying to, and it brought my husband and I really like so much closer together because we've been through, a fair amount. Like he's had several surgeries throughout our relationship. I had a couple surgeries, including 1 C-section. He was there for my VBAC. He was very involved. But this was like a whole nother level of being close, Yeah. I mean,
Totally.
It was intense. And then this little funny thing, my doula, I wanted perennial counter pressure. So I wanted like warm compresses applied to my perineum while I was pushing. And she knew that. So when I remembered feeling this thing, and now I joke about it. I'm like, it feels like a butt hug because she had this like towel. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, that feels so good against what doesn't feel so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she didn't have time to get the right perfect towel, but somebody's just like, grab a towel, so she had this big towel that was like, and it was probably there to collect if something else came out. I don't know. I didn't ask, and I don't want to, not even going to go there, but it felt like a butt hug. And I'm like, this is my new term for this. It's a butt hug.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It felt really good.
I didn't even know that was a thing, but yeah, I could see the comfort in that for sure.
It does. So yeah, normally like what I wanted was a damp cloth applied to the perineum, just like pressure, not manually like pulling things apart and ripping apart, and none of that stretching during birth, just some pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And it really felt good. Like really felt good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still, and the funny thing, the hypnobabies, right? So I was not under hypnosis. I studied hypnobabies during the whole pregnancy, and it was a great course. But in the moment, I think I didn't really study it properly. You're not supposed to like use other birth language during the whole course. So you're not supposed to say things like contractions.
Oh.
And in what I do, I can't help but talk about contractions. I teach classes about birth. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't exactly following the rules. Plus I fell asleep every single time I turned the tracks on. I mean, they're so relaxing. I'm like, if nothing else, the $100 and whatever it was amazing to put me to sleep for the whole pregnancy, So I was not under hypnosis. I had my tracks playing for the first part of the labor, and then I couldn't even hear them anymore because I was so involved in what was happening.
Yeah.
You know, but ultimately it happened so fast. And then it's true what they say, like, as soon as they come out, you just, I don't feel anything anymore. Like I didn't feel any pain. That was it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I would take that, not that I want to do it a lot, but I mean, if I had to choose, like I would do that over, you know, having something like another cesarean if I had the choice, obviously, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It's so amazing and empowering.
So amazing.
Thank you. I'm so glad I got to. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Nicole, where can our listeners follow you or find you if they want to find out more information about what you offer?
Yeah. So my website is NicoleJoy.com. So it's NICHOLE joy.com. And I have a free library of my birth classes there. And then the private group on Facebook that I host is called Empowered Moms. And I do my weekly digital doulas. Right now I do them in car line while I'm waiting for my son. You sit in car line for at least a half an hour.
So long.
For pre-K. So, so that's kind of my thing. I go there. And then, you know, you can reach out to me that way to, you know, talk about any of the other services and stuff.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
She's beautiful.
She's so beautiful.
What's your daughter? It's your daughter, right?
Yeah. So this is my second girl. So her name is Imani.
Imani.
Oh, okay. And since you asked, I have to tell you quickly, but my husband and I but we could not agree on a name for the whole pregnancy at all. And so I was getting really annoyed. And, after she came out, I'm like, I effing earned the rights to name her. That's
totally
whatever I want. I just did that on our bedroom floor. And he's laughing and we were laughing. But then in the hospital, it was like a little honeymoon because our other kids were home. So it was just me, him, and a newborn. We're like, this is easy peasy. We're just relaxing and talking about names. And he's like, I was thinking about this name, Imani. And I looked it up and it was the meaning. It's an African name. He's Black. And so it's an African name that means faith. And I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect for her because I felt like the end of the pregnancy, I had to hold so much faith for so many things, like to turn down induction and to not want to know the numbers. And, you know, during the birth, I was holding so much faith when I was freaking out. I'm like, that is perfect. So,
oh my gosh,
it's beautiful.
I love that name.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you. She's my girl.
Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
All right. Well, I guess we'll probably see you in the Facebook group.
All right. I'll be there.
All right. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Bye.
Talk to you guys later.
That was crazy.
I know. Oh my man. I understand though. So I understand the point of view of wanting to labor as long as possible at home. And it's kind of a fine line, like knowing like, okay, now I should probably go to the hospital. And I think that's when her husband was kind of sensing like, listen, like we need to go.
Totally.
But also when you are in labor land, there is like where you just turn inwards and nothing else exists except you and the flow of your body. And I understand why she was like, no, like I can't move. Like I don't know how you would even like get there.
Yeah, I can't imagine feeling like all that pressure and then being like, let's get in the car. Because all you'd want to do in that moment would be get it out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Get the baby out. You're like, how could I? Yeah, no.
Well, and she
That's
said that
so wild.
With this birth, she really felt the urge to push. And that's how I felt. Like every contraction, I wanted to bear down. And there was no way I would have been able to like, okay, yeah, let's get dressed. Like, this baby is like right there. Like I can't.
It's coming. Yeah.
Well, and I think like I related a lot to what she said, like from the doula standpoint, though, of a lot of times like you do hear your baby is too big, so we're going to have to induce you. And a lot of those end up in a C-section or being like, well, you're 41 weeks, so let's whatever. Like having a doula helps you realize like your options and your plan to be like, well, why don't we check the fluid, make sure she has enough fluid and movement and then we're okay, you know, but she knew all those things, but she also knew the risks of, well, if I do just let them induce me, I might end up in a C-section again, or I might, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I could understand her fear of that point of view, already having a C-section, then having the education that she has, knowing the risk of doing that, you know? So maybe wanting to be like, I'm just going to wait.
I know.
Yeah.
I know you, Liz, you were supposed to be my doula, but Emerson came 4 weeks early. But just her describing it really makes me want to have a doula. Well, it would probably be you, Liz, at my next birth. And just like her talking about, she was in like birth land, la la land, and labor land, whatever. And this hand came over on her shoulder, and just she felt the calming energy. And I just felt I could feel that from her just saying that. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot imagine how calming that felt for her in that moment. That she had that person that had her back.
Is it weird that in that moment I was like, I thought she was gonna be like, I felt all of my ancestors.
I know. I was waiting to be like, was it an angel? Was it what?
Nobody there. That's what I thought was gonna happen. And then she's like, and my doula arrived. I was like, oh, okay.
That could happen too. You never know.
Totally.
But that is something that I've heard a lot. I remember like I was the doula for my niece. She had her baby when she was 22, I think, maybe 21. And she was in San Diego, and I was in Vegas. So I like rushed over there because she went early, and and she, as soon as I got there, she was like, "It's okay, like you're here." It's just like this like presence, I think, of knowing that there's somebody who's with you through the journey, and who's there to just like be by your side, and and it just like it does help you relax a lot.
It makes me feel, if I'm imagining myself in that situation, it makes me feel safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's
totally.
a safe space that I can just fully embrace my labor and somebody has my back.
Mm-hmm.
That's how.
And someone also has done this before and knows if there's any problem, they would know what to do too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I'm sure that was like a major fear.
Yeah.
Well, which she said it was as well.
Right. Like she said, though, like she probably should. I mean, people do have home births, but unassisted is pretty crazy. Like the doula was like, I'm not that person.
Oh, yeah. Right. I would be like, like,
but
I don't deliver babies.
You would know like steps to take because you had been through it. It's not like you were a person who had never been to a birth and then you're walking in, you're like, I don't even know how it comes out. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you at least have seen a doctor do it. Not that you should be doing it, but at least you have that sense about you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway.
How we were talking about tears and everything, like, I feel like she offered a lot of insightful information. I feel like during my birth, my midwife did put a compress down there, now that I think about it. In that moment, I didn't know what was happening, but I do kind of remember the butt hug that she's explaining. Because it does kind of feel like that. But yeah, now I have a new goal of not to tear next time. Because I just kind of thought tears were just a normal thing, but it sounds amazing if you can push out big babies like she did and not have tears. That sounds wonderful.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, it is possible. And that's, it's something that I think a lot of women don't know is possible. But a lot of the birthing positions, you're not working with gravity. Like how she was saying, there's certain positions that help prevent tearing even. So laying in a hospital bed does not allow your body to work with gravity.
Right.
And you're forcing it a little bit more.
Yeah. But I birthed in like a modified hands and knees position.
Right.
I was on all fours, kind of like
propped up
a little bit. You propped up, yeah. But because there was no way I would have been able to deliver on my back. That just felt so awkward. If they would have forced me to do that, I probably would have cried.
Oh my gosh.
There's no way.
Yeah.
But mamas do it though. All you amazing mamas out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Man, that was a crazy story.
It
makes
was.
you want to have a baby though.
I know. And her little girl is so precious. She was so good.
My gosh. Just laying on her.
I know. Just her little head on her chest. Oh my gosh.
So cute.
For the listeners out there, let us know if you want to hear more birth stories, because that's something we can do more often. And we've talked about adding more content in different forms. So we'd love to hear the feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're planning on sharing more birth stories for sure.
Yeah.
So we're super
excited. If you have a crazy
excited.
one, let us know. Or if you know someone that has a crazy one. Or even if you have a normal one. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
I was trying to think if there's anything.
Exit.
I was trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add, but yeah. So thank you guys for listening. Please go to our Babes and Babies podcast iTunes page and subscribe. We're also on Stitcher and Spotify, so you can find us there. Please share with your friends, and we will see you guys next week.
See you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.